Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this month's Boss Lady Summit. This is the International Women's Day, week, month, special edition, and this week we will be talking about legacy setting. I first want to introduce all of the panelists. We do have Sarah missing today. Unfortunately, Sarah's unwell, but her voice will still be heard and used today. If you could all introduce yourself, I'll start with Bernie. Hello, Bernie. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, Dannique, and everybody else who are here. Right. I'm Bernie Davis. I am actually coming to you at 8 p.m. GMT in Wales, so I have my glass of Prosecco. Sorry for those of you who it's 6 a.m. for. Yeah, what do you have there? Some coffee ahead? Yes. What do? I am all about awakening. So whether it's awakening your inner genius or awakening yourself of a sense of self, discovering who you are, to make that be the thing that actually makes you stand out in the marketplace. So I'm a business strategist. I am an author. I am a speaker. I am a trainer. And what I am so excited about tonight is that we're going to be talking about legacy, because I am all about legacy making. So I can't wait.
Thank you so much, Benny. And Dr. Liz, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Liz from Link Nutrition, and I am all about helping people to improve their energy, their health, and live an active and fit life through the healing power of nutrition. So as background, I'm a nutritionist, dietitian with a PhD. I have written hundreds of scientific papers, led some of the largest nutrition trials in Australasia. And over the past year, I have joined the business world, hence the Boss Ladies, which I love. And I'm very much about empowering women to live their best lives through, looking after themselves, self-care, but particularly through nutrition. But I like to do it in a holistic way. And I also love the topic of legacy, and really excited to share some of my thoughts and examples of how we can empower more women to really live their best life.
Thank you so much. I love that intro. And Tasia, please share your voice with us.
Hello, you beautiful ladies, and with a wonderful energy. My name is Tasia Valenza, and I'm an Emmy-winning voiceover artist and what I like to call a confident communications coach. I am a TEDx and motivational speaker, and my passion and mission is to teach the art of confident, captivating communication, utilizing the skills of an actor and a voiceover actor in your own life, so you can play your professional and personal roles more successfully, with more impact, and leave more legacy, because our voices are our most powerful instrument. And when we use them effectively in our roles, we can land our messages and tell our stories in the way we intend. So my favorite people in the world to empower are women, because to give great voice really means to move, touch, and impact using our voices. And so many times women feel muted, they feel unheard. And my passion and mission is to help you to be able to rise to tell those stories and feel confident when you communicate in all of your life roles. So I'm here and I'm delighted to be with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Tasia. And everyone, I'm Dannique Blake. I run a culture development company. I work with organizations and I help people to develop real relationships through uncomfortable conversations, but real conversations. And I believe that's what really truly empowers people, is being authentic and having real conversations that help to develop you in understanding other people's experiences. So how I'd like to today to run is I have a few questions for the ladies on the panel. You all have probably about 2 minutes each to answer the questions. Halfway through, we'd like to take some audience questions. So if anyone in the audience thinks of any questions whilst we're speaking, please share them in the chat box and we will answer those halfway through this session. So I hope that all makes sense. If there are any other questions outside of ones for us, please use the raise hands ones and we'll try and answer those separately. Okay, so ladies, we're talking about legacy, which is great. I'm sure we all have younger women in our lives or young girls in our lives who really want to, who are looking up to all of us and seeing what we're doing. So when you think of legacy and setting the stage for the future generation of young women,
great in terms of worksheets and helping people and giving them even free tools. And that's like how to get to that first one.
Everyone can put their mics on mute if they're not speaking. That would be fantastic.
Obviously, the majority of the people.
Thank you. So sorry about that. So Bernie, are you able to tell me?
I'm just going to do the mute all first. Yes. Okay. And then. Okay, brilliant. And then I will be able to unmute myself. Okay, brilliant. Sorry, over to you now, Dannique. You can unmute yourself now. And yeah, awesome.
Okay, so Bernie, when you think of legacy and setting the stage for future generations of women, what comes to mind?
Gosh, Dannique, legacy is exactly why I am where I am today as a lawyer, because I am a qualified attorney at law. I had my own private practice when I was in Jamaica. And when I moved here to the United Kingdom, I also worked in the legal fraternity. But there was some people might say you could leave a good legacy as a lawyer. I didn't find that to be the vehicle through which I could actually become that person who left what I think is an incredible legacy. What do I think legacy is? Legacy is not what you do, not how educated you are. It's about really how you make people feel when they leave your presence. What nuggets do you leave with people? What change are you a part of? What transformation have you actually caused? And I think about my own mother that was one of my main inspirations. She was a university professor, and she had all these accolades, Fulbright Scholar and all of that. But when my mother passed away, people weren't talking about Dr. Myrtle Thompson. They were talking about what they coined her, the university students who became, great dignitaries across the country. They called her, they're talking about Mummy T. Right? That's what they were talking about, because they were talking about how loved she made them feel, how she made them not give up mid-program many times, how she helped them to have a good sense of self. And so for me, that really touched me. And when I thought about it as well, she also impacted on my life, because she's the person who told me all my life to know myself. Know yourself. And I couldn't understand what she meant. But believe me, it's the single most important discovery I have made. And I think it will be the single most important discovery anyone makes. And the most incredible gem you could ever have. And that is a knowledge of who you are and what therefore your purpose in life and what place you should take. So for me, I think legacy is super important. At my age, it's all about the next generation. I have a daughter and I have sons. It's all about the next generation. And I'm so excited to hear what my other fellow panelists have to say.
Thank you so much. I can so resonate with that. My grandma left her legacy to me, and although she wasn't a doctor, she did pioneer the introduction of the NHS in the UK, and she arrived in the UK via the Windrush, which many British people don't seem to know what that is, but she arrived from Jamaica via the Windrush and helped to develop the NHS. And she always said, despite anything that happened to her, the legacy you leave is you keep your energy, you don't match anyone else's. And that's the legacy she left for me. So I really resonate with what you said, Benny. Thank you so much. And Dr. Liz, when you think of legacy, what comes to mind?
For me, it is really having an ongoing impact, positive impact around the world. And I think I have benefited greatly from having amazing mentors. And what's lovely for me is to see that full circle moment of, for myself, I'm training the next generation of nutrition and dietetic leaders. And, through my publications, having that ripple effect throughout the world. And I think for me, it starts with values. I love what Bernie was saying in terms of know yourself. It is absolutely about knowing yourself, knowing your values, and people seeing that. And so it's role modeling it and people seeing it. So, you know, as they say, it's not what you say. People rarely listen to that. It's how you make them feel, but it's also they can see what you're doing. And I think having that ripple effect throughout the world is amazing. And we often underestimate it. But, you know, I love now, as I'm also getting older, I have past students and whatever who are now leaving their own legacy, and hearing how they were inspired or what actually was the turning point for them in their own lives. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really what we do. And I think role modeling is so important. And the older I get, the more I realize that it's not what we write about, it's not what we say, but it's what people can actually see us doing day in, day out. And a lot of that starts with knowing ourselves and also our values. And I agree, as I get older, I tell you what, it's all about legacy now. I think I always liked helping and having an impact, but absolutely this next phase of my life is making sure I leave it in a better position and that I really give that hand up and that opportunity to other, you know, rising female stars. And I'm really passionate about that and looking forward to expanding on some examples around that as well, because it's providing the opportunity for others to shine, I think is key.
Brilliant. And another question for you, Dr. Liz. Do you, what would you say has been a monumental moment for you with leaving a legacy? Is there anything that stands out with something that you think people will remember you for?
I hope that I've helped champion other people's dreams, and I hope that's what comes across in all sort of different areas of life of what I've done. I have provided a lot of opportunities for people. And in more recently, I must admit, in the early days, I would keep those good opportunities for myself, and the ones busy for or didn't really have time to, I'd pass those on. But in the past few years, I've completely changed that. I now think of who's going to be the best fit for that opportunity. And even if it's amazing pre-COVID, you know, international travel opportunity, would give that to someone, you know, very young and inexperienced who would normally have to wait, you know, 10 years for that opportunity. If I think they're the best fit for it, I provide that. So I hope people are going to think that, yeah, you know, she really helped support and help me champion and achieve my dreams. That's what I hope.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that. So, Tasia, tell me, when you think of legacy, what comes to mind?
Well, it's a big word, right? Legacy. It sounds so grand, right? And we have to leave something so major. But I do believe, you know, as we get to a point in our lives when we've, you know, I've been around like Bernie and Dr. Liz for a while now. And, you know, in our first parts of our lives, we're in that ambitious, what can I do? How can I make it? How can I succeed? And as we get older, certainly for me now that I'm a mother, I have two girls, two beautiful young ladies and a son. And, you know, you just mature in a way for me, at least where I'm thinking, how can I give back now? I have been given, people gave to me, what can I give back? And that's one of the reasons why I took my career as a voiceover actress and an actress for 35 years, giving great voice, as I like to say, moving and touching and thinking now, this has been something that has served me because I know how to use my voice as an instrument to play my roles and to, along with the self-development, it has helped me not only play my roles successfully in my career, but as a mother and as a friend and as a CEO and to speak to those that I need to convey what I wanted. And it's really helped me. So I thought, well, what can I do to move that and help other people? And that's what legacy means to me. When you've taken all the ups and the downs and the negatives and the positives, and then said, hey, here, maybe if I give you this information, I can help you learn from my mistakes as much as my successes. Learn from my mistakes. And so for me, I was able to at least start the ball rolling with a TEDx talk called Give Great Voice, in which I talked about how I've used these skills to translate how you can play all your roles more successfully. And I shared in it how we can give great voice to ourselves, the most important, how we can use it to motivate ourselves so that we can, to do it on behalf of our professional roles, because we have to go out there and pitch ourselves and be in Zooms, and also how we can deepen our relationships, because we've digitized our communication so much, we're not speaking enough. And so I did this, but I also shared where I fell short. I fell short of playing the role with my mother that I wished I could play as the daughter. So I shared in it my highs and my lows and my mistakes. And I asked people, use this as an opportunity for you to learn. And I want people to have that. So the ripple effect of sharing our life's journey is legacy. And when we can do it intentionally, we can have such an effect on so many people. And then hopefully that ripple effect will pay it forward, and they pay it forward. So that's my thought on legacy.
Oh, thank you so much. And a question for you, Tasia. Again, don't mute yet. You're not off the hook just yet. So
I'm not off the hook. I love
you're not off the hook. So I have a question for you. So we're talking about legacy. What legacy did a woman leave for you to pick up? What lady in your life or had left a legacy, and what was that?
You know, I feel like I'm still getting it all the time, but certainly my own mother, again, who was a tremendous force of power. And she was, she never got to fulfill her full potential because she got ill at a very young age. But her name is Gloria, and I want to shout out Glorious Gloria. She taught me very early. She had a voice, and she would use it, sometimes to the embarrassment of me and my brothers, because, you know, she was a powerful force. But she gave me the information in the 70s, you know, your voice. I didn't grow up thinking there wasn't anything I could do. I was never confined. I grew up in New York City, but there was never a sense of like, women do this and ladies do this, and this is what you know, it was like, you go, you share, you be. And so for me, when I understand how many women did not receive that kind of messaging, I feel very blessed that was something that was imprinted on me early, and that I've taken. And my passion now is to empower women and those who don't always feel that they have a voice, so that my mother lives through me. And I also have an incredible stepmother, and she offered me these other areas, again, both very strong women. So the ones that have helped me, I now feel charged with taking their spirit and their energy and continuing to pay that forward.
Brilliant. Thank you. I love that. So I feel like this year's International Women's Day just felt like there was just so much more behind it, and the messaging behind it. Choose to challenge. That was a great message, I think. So what have you chosen to challenge to help with setting the stage for the next generation, to leave your legacy? What have you chosen, Dr. Liz? Tell me, what have you chosen to challenge?
Oh, I'm just laughing at that, Danny, because trying to just narrow it down to a couple will be interesting. But I think for me, challenging a lot of, I guess, the statistics. So, for example, to make it in academia, which is a very competitive world, to make it to professor, you know, depending which stats you look at, it's generally about 25 to 30% of professors are female. So I managed to crack that one, which was good. But I think importantly, I did it on my own terms. I did it by being myself and authentic, as opposed to in previous generations. I think it was very much that you almost had to act more like a man, or be in a man's world to actually cut it. And so I think, and I think that confidence also comes, you know, with age, knowing your worth and having the track record behind you to back up. Yeah, absolutely. This is why I deserve that. So I think that was probably one of the first ones. I would say that I've continued to challenge it and speak out where I think what's written down and in mission statements and whatever else is actually not matched by the lived experience. And I think that really frustrates me, particularly in work cultures, and particularly with the challenges around women being in very senior positions. And so I've always been very open about that. I think now that's moved now to starting. I mean, I still love the world of academia. I'm still very much linked to it. But I think, like any big organisation, there are some major challenges. And so that was one of my motivations to start my own business, is that, you know, I'm my own boss, and I have a fantastic boss now. And so I really can leave a legacy and do it on my own terms. And for me, I think that's the best system, because if I can't change things the way I want it to change, and I did try for many, many years, and people will say that I did, but to me they were such small changes and I felt I probably couldn't do any more. So really I have now bypassed that system to actually do it through business, do it through the online world. And it's fantastic, because it might not happen straight away, but hearing those stories and hearing those ripple effects shows that people do pay attention, and that changes don't always happen immediately. We might not actually see those full changes for 5 or 10 years, but it's just in my nature. I think, until the day I take my last breath, I'll be challenging the status quo and trying to improve things for sure.
No, that is fantastic. And it's I really, really, really think about the workplace too, because that's where I'm positioned the most. And I know when I first joined the workplace, it was really difficult for the 1 or 2 senior women to open doors for other women, because it almost felt like there wasn't a space for them. And now I'm seeing more mentorships and leaders who are women, who are opening doors for other women and creating spaces. So I really, truly...
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think back in the day it was competitive, and it was almost some of the worst hindrances to getting ahead were in fact some of those senior women, not necessarily, sometimes intentional, but sometimes just because they had to work so hard to get there. Whereas I completely agree, it's changed now, and many are leading the way for other amazing women, and as it should be.
And that's good. I love it. I love that that's happening. Thank you so much, Dr. Liz. That was amazing. And Bernie, what are your thoughts here?
Pardon me?
What are your thoughts here?
Right, change. What do I challenge? One of the 2 things that I challenge, one of them is silence. I challenge the silence. And the other thing I do is I challenge the stereotypes.
Okay.
Now, silence can be a very destructive thing. If one sits back and watches someone else hurting and sees any form of abuse, wrong, unconscious bias, whatever you want to call it, if we sit by and silently watch, we are actually active participants. And recently we have had this situation all around the world with Meghan and Harry, and her talking about her mental health. And there are a lot of people who were not very sympathetic to that. So whatever, whatever it is that you might think of the whole, the essence of what they did. I think when a woman says, I felt I could not go on, I think that should be met with some amount of, people airing their support. And also, when you look at it, even at this very time, simultaneously, they're now airing a program a year on since Caroline Flack. Those of you who are international might not know about Caroline Flack. She's a very, very famous British young lady who lost her life to suicide last year because there was a lot of bad press. Now, she was not innocent. We don't know. It was alleged she was not innocent in whatever was happening at the time to her, but we did not give her kindness. And, now a year on, we are showing the programs. We seem to have retrospective kindness, retrospective consideration, but nobody really cares to stand up at the time people are going through things and say, oh, come on, let's give some support. Let's walk around in her shoes for 1 minute. And the only time I think we should use silence is if we cannot say something nice. Yes. But, honestly, I really want to push back on silence tonight. Another thing I'd like to push back on is the stereotypes. Yes. And, as women, we have the stereotypes that we get. If we are passionate about what we believe, or we make a passionate point, we are emotional. If we take our passion to a further point of becoming militant and, really posturing and pushing back, so to speak, we are called aggressive. Yes. And we never seem to be able to get that break. And I remember, I must have been subconsciously challenging stereotypes when I was young, because as a little girl, I refused to wear dresses. And I was always trying to play with the boys, even though I was a little girl. And then when one morning suddenly woke up and became a girl, got very girly, I still was not the kind of girl that people would expect, because in Jamaica, the culture is, if you are from a certain background, you don't wear nails like this, and you don't wear color in your hair, and you just don't wear bright colors. Danny can probably tell you if you know.
I was about to say, because you were uptown, weren't you?
Yes, and that is ghetto fabulous.
Yeah, you're not downtown, you're uptown.
Yes, well, this girl decided to do what she did. Come on, don't tell me if you will call me ghetto fabulous. I'll take it. I was always pushing back on those, and so that's what I think, and that's all a part of legacy making. We've got to make everybody think they have a place. People need to see representation of all types. They need to see themselves represented. If everybody follows the one stereotype, how are the ones that don't fit going to believe that they can achieve it or go after something? So that's what I would like to add. I don't want to take up too much of the time, but those are the two things that I would like for us to just think about.
Yeah,
tonight.
It's wonderful. And I resonate, obviously we're from a similar culture. I resonate, but that's how I choose to challenge. I choose to decide how I want to walk into a space. So, often women of color are told they can't really sound how they need to sound. And I've been pushing back a lot. My challenge is to walk into a room and just sound however I want to sound. And that creates a space for other women to sound however they want to sound.
You are right. And you know what? When you do that, you create your own unique space.
Yeah.
And that's when you own your space, and that's when you shine.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Thank you so much. And Tasia, please share with us your thoughts on this topic. This question, sorry. I'm saying topic because...
On challenging.
Challenge. What do you choose to challenge?
Right now, I'm choosing to challenge my identity of the balance of my life with the human and the relationships that matter the most to me, with my responsibilities to my professional life and the social media and what society has created now, that we are kind of being hypnotized that we're supposed to do. So I'm really challenging myself to remember, what are my priorities? Who will I think about at the end of my life? Where did I serve? Right now, I'm challenging myself to be a better mother, because I've been so obsessed with being a better professional, and my kids are teenagers, so they're independent, and I'm realizing I have neglected to spend more time with my kids. And I'm sad about it. And I'm aware that, wow, I love them and they know me and they're appreciating me, but my twins are going up to college next year, and my teenager, because of the pandemic, we've all been together, but I haven't been fully present. So I'm challenging myself to be more present and recognize that the social media and all the responsibilities and the to-do list that never end are important. But my priorities, I have to keep reminding myself, what are my priorities? And try to remind myself that those must take place. The relationships in our lives, the ones that matter most, they have to come first. So I'm challenging my own self to walk my own talk, and to love greater, and to put my family first, and to be okay with maybe not commenting or engaging as much, or dropping a ball here, and accepting and forgiving myself that I'm human. Because I think that we all need to do that, because right now the world keeps spinning and it just gets busier and faster. And sometimes we lose ourselves because we're so busy being busy. So I'm trying to challenge myself to remember what matters most.
That's fantastic. And it's always good. It's always great as we grow and we have new experiences. We have an opportunity to look back at our past and change our futures. And I think that's so wonderful, Tasia. And it's the same with me. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I also didn't spend lots of time with her because I had her in my late teens, and I was hungry to do the work. And you spend time trying to do the work and act like a man, when really it's okay to slow down and spend time and build the legacy with those people you care about. So that's fantastic. I really resonate. Thank you. So let's have a look at the chat box now. So in the chat box, lots of stuff in here. So we've got the wonderful Edward Zia. Love your work and honoured to be here. Thank you, Ed. We are honoured to have you today. Jacqueline, honoured to be here. With most countries, I taught and meet in, do you teach and meet in Florida? Sorry, I didn't get that one, Jacqueline. Are you a teacher?
Well, I was a professor at the International. Schiller started in Heidelberg. It's in London, it's in Madrid, and I think we closed Paris. But the Liebrecht family brought it to Florida. Florida is probably the most diversity right now in the US, with seniors, retired military. I know somebody from every country. Wales, you mention it, I know them, not just from teaching. My CPA practice mostly goes to New York Zoom, but when you come to Florida, it's come see me. It is the Shark Tank. Today is Barbara Cochrane's birthday in America, and it is. Because I grew up in Ohio, totally different. 8 US presidents, terribly abolitionists in the war we had in the 1860s, very, very good people. I got to Florida, you're a melting pot that's more than a New York City because of the senior and the retired military. So we've got our COVID. I need to tell our Canadian friends, we've got our shots. I mean, it's amazing. They're afraid to come down to their condos for the winter because of the COVID, but we have almost eliminated. Governor DeSantis is amazing, very young, went to Harvard or Yale, served the military. He's probably the best we could have to solve COVID in Florida. So do come visit us. And our tourism is wonderful.
What would you, Jacqueline, what are you choosing to challenge?
I am building a whole new network. I had my husband die of Parkinson's and I taught. Then I had my mother in a wheelchair, so I didn't build. And if you look at accounting today, I'm a CPA mostly. I taught graduate accounting. So when you look at it, it's like a scorecard in baseball. You have to keep building. You lose the big four CPA who came out of Scotland in our great crash of 29. And so I'm on a Zoom with all the Northerners. When the baby boomers roll money, they like to buy Florida homes. And then they need a new CPA that has trust in a state. And that's what I do every week with Jamie Michelle Kane.
Brilliant. Jacqueline, we just have to move on to another question, but thank you so much. That's really great. And thank you. It's so great.
She has a Zoom like you.
Oh,
you would
brilliant.
like her.
Thank you so much. I've got another one here. Is it Abina? Abina, is it a podcast? Abina, look.
Yes.
Is that one? Tell us a little bit about that and how it helps to chat, how it's helping you to challenge and set a legacy for women.
Oh, well, I am just starting out as a podcaster. And for me, it's challenging the stereotype in my mind that maybe women like me can't be funny or have to be serious all the time, that we can't just be ourselves. And that's one of my questions to the panelists. How you were talking about it, and you were saying that when you come into a room, sometimes people think you should be a certain kind of way or you can't be your authentic self. What advice do you give to people like me, that are starting out just in new arenas? How should we approach that?
Danny, can I take that one? Because that's my area.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was just about to, I'll answer and then I'll pass it to you. I was going to say, and then I was going to lead on to Bernie anyway. I was going to say, try and surround yourself with women who resonate with your story and experience.
Okay.
And that's, I'm going to lead on to Bernie because that's her area of expertise.
Yes, not only my area of expertise, Abina, but actually my walk, that's my journey, which is why it has become my area of expertise. It's about, being totally unrepentant about who you are. Do not take yourself too seriously. I remember when I moved over to the United Kingdom from Jamaica. First I moved to Bradford, but then I moved down to Wales. Okay, so a Jamaican woman who couldn't understand Welsh, and I was head of property at the law firm that I was working at. And listen, I remember one morning one of my staff members rang and said, "Bernie, my train is stuck in Mountain Ash." I'm going to be late. And I thought there was a natural disaster of monumental proportions because I didn't realize that Mountain Ash was the name of a town. And I was there thinking, lava, volcano. I'm thinking, what's going on? I said it out loud. And that stopped laughing. I couldn't call the names of the places. I have the Jamaican accent. I show up in my bright colors. But you know what, Abina? Because I didn't realize that I had to be quiet, I didn't realize I had to conform. I didn't realize that there was something called unconscious bias coming straight out of Jamaica. I didn't realize that you know, it would have been a difficult thing for me. And as a result of that, I was just catapulted in the marketplace in such an incredible way. And then I started to stop and think about it. And I wonder, why is it the media wants me? I'm getting all these positions, these things offered to me. And then I asked questions and I realized it's because I was owning who I was and I wasn't self-conscious about it. And that is what I call your U-print. When I discovered what my U-print was, and I realized I was doing it by accident, I then started to be intentional. As Tasia said earlier, she said, I wrote it down, Tasia said about being intentional about the legacy and your imprint. And honestly, Abina, if you just get over, the first person that needs to get over who you are is you. And once you're comfortable in your own skin and you start to walk comfortably in it, then nobody else will be self-conscious. Think about watching somebody on a show who is nervous singing. Don't you feel nervous? Think about somebody delivering anything nervous. It affects you. If you're not nervous in your delivery, then everybody's going to be comfortable around you. I hope that helps.
Yeah, yes, it helps. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And so, you know, sticking with the theme of voice, I want to go back to the panelists, and thank you, everyone. We'll try and come back to questions again. But for the panelists, how do you think we can use our voices? And I'm going to throw this one straight at Tasia because she definitely uses her voice. But how do you think we can use our voice to help with creating the space for the future generations?
It's a wonderful question. And again, you know, our voice is a metaphoric, right? Our voice, it can be the written word, it can be our voice. And I do believe using it intentionally, as I said, you know, whether that would be creating poetry and reading it, or you know, using it for social media where you're coming together on summits. There's so many ways. I'm a huge advocate of Clubhouse, which is, again, a new forum, which is all audio based, where you're getting to just have your picture and then your voice. So you can set up rooms about any subject you're interested, taking your voice and creating conversations about what matters to you and finding other people that believe in your message and sharing it, but knowing that your voice matters and your messages deserve to be heard. Half of it is really honoring that you have a voice and believing in what you have to say. I think so much of it is our self-speak, and the self-speak must be first updated, because so many of us are operating on very old computer hardware programs that say that, you know, what does what I say matter, and who really needs to hear what I say? But it does, and it does, and I want to affirm that it does. So to use your voice in the way that you have intentionally on forums such as, again, LinkedIn, share your messaging. Get on Clubhouse, use it, have these kinds of collaborations, come to this, but speak about what you believe, and then find others. They'll follow you. They'll find you because they resonate with you, just like you're saying. So I just think a lot of it is empowering. And then, you know, I started using my voice for poetry that I believed, quotes that I believed. I'm a voiceover artist, so I would just take quotes that I loved that had nothing to do with making money and just share it. And then I would just start doing, you know, workshops on this Give Great Voice. And then I just let things, creative ways, lead to the next and the next and the next. So I just want to encourage people. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you could do a podcast. There's so many ways to use our voices now. And half of it is just giving ourselves permission to do it where it's not perfect, a little messy, and it'll get better and better and better. So that's what I want to say. Use your voice. Use your voice. It matters. It matters.
Thank you so much. And I am just going to hang on to it doesn't have to be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. You just have to be the best version of yourself today. And that might not look like whoever you think is perfect. it's just you. Use your voice and you will grow and develop and change it. Thank you so much. And Dr. Liz,
use voice. I think the key thing is to actually speak out when you see things that you don't agree with. And me being the researcher, I'd always like to back it up with evidence because that's more powerful. And I've done that in many different scenarios. And it's always interesting to me that often one of the first reactions is, oh, we weren't aware of this. We didn't know. And yet if you talk, amongst the culture or people in that organisation, everyone knew. It's just that they're not actually doing official reports or raising it to the level that it needs to be raised. And I think if you can back it up with evidence, then that's absolutely key. And I think we've got to remember that sort of saying of silence implies consent. And it's not, I don't agree with it, but that's often what people think. So if you're not actually speaking out about anything, people then aren't necessarily taking it seriously. And on that topic, I guess one of the things that I speak out about quite frequently is that in very competitive environments, I see that a woman only rises to those top senior positions if they're 2 to 3 times as good as a male, and often working even harder. It's not just good enough to be equal. They need to be demonstratively better. And I see it in academia, I see it in senior organisations. And so one of my, messages is, if they can at least meet that criteria and be as good as, they don't have to be 3 times as good as, just as good as, then they need to be considered for that position. And the thing is, it's that unconscious bias. A lot of the time people aren't even aware of it, but if you can show the evidence and talk about it and report it and take it to where it needs to go, then things start changing. Because it's amazing that, I've been in organisations where everyone has known about that, but it's not until I talk to the right people or put in a report that people are then suddenly like, oh my gosh, how can this be happening? It's been happening for 10, 20 years, but it's not until you actually speak out and report it then that actually then leads to change. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's helping people to understand how they can speak out, because we often say speak out. And, I am actually an advocate for silence in terms of thinking about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it first. And because, we can all easily say things riding on an angry emotion. And
completely agree.
I think when you can really sit down, and which is why I work in bias awareness, is understanding what a bias looks like, and then educating people on that and creating those spaces so people then can talk and call things out.
And that's such an important point, Danny. Don't do it in an emotional outburst, because then you're the emotional woman again. Actually do it in a measured way, get the evidence to support it, speak through the appropriate channels, the HR, whatever else. And I think also do it in an open, not necessarily an accusatory way. Do it just in an open way. Look, this is what I'm observing, and this is the data that I'm seeing to support this. How can we work together to improve it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sims. And Bernie, please share your message with us.
Oh, honestly, I'm so glad you got to me, because I really would like to follow on from what Dr. Liz just shared, because I currently have, I'm working with the Welsh government on a contract, and it's on a project that is supposed to be supporting the underrepresented. So all the categories, the females, the disabled, all the BAME, Black, Asian, and ethnic minorities. And honestly, it's been such a very rewarding, project, and it's about working with entrepreneurs in this sector for them to scale up to be £1 million businesses within the next 3 years. And so there's a lot of experts at it, a lot of expertise, and a lot of research. And believe me, it's eye-opening what we are, really happening upon. And as you talk about what does unconscious bias look like, how you deal with it, and it has to be in a reasoned way, as Dr. Liz said, and as you mentioned, you've got to come at it expecting. You've got to anticipate the objections. And one of the first objections that you get when you're going to bring across a point that is not welcome is you.
Yes.
What was your tone? How did you deliver it? Because if the actual evidence is clear, then all they have to attack is you. And it's not that they're terrible people, the ones that have to answer this. You have to remember that these things are serious allegations, and the people who have to answer them have a lot to lose if they don't handle it very well. So there is that first thing. If you give them the excuse of how your delivery, you've lost. So it's really about getting all of your evidence and coming at it from a place of, I'm sure you didn't realize. Would you like me to just, make these parties aware of what's happening in respect to this particular situation? And, and when people speak, for heaven's sake, listen. Never be the one that's cutting people off, because then you are now doing to them what the whole issue was about, where people are not being heard. So give everybody a fair hearing. Be polite, but don't give up. Continue on, and sometimes it's not you're not going to win straight away, but even it's planting seeds, because this didn't get to this point overnight, so it will not change overnight. But you pick your battles. You might win one, you lose one, but once you're making some kind of headway, you're leaving. It's back to legacy. We have within our time to do our part. So to use a cricket terminology, so in this innings, what can we bring? What block can we add to that staircase that we're building, or whatever that what do you call those things? What they have in Egypt?
The pyramids.
Yes. I told you I'm gonna be myself. Those things there in Egypt. Yeah. What a little brick. Until we're building it one by one, and leave it to the next generation. We only have a responsibility to do the best in our time that we have here.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think it's all an education. We're all learning, and as you say, as you start to develop and get an awareness of who you are, and I think we've all said that.
Yes.
Here, as you start to develop, so now I'm sort of somewhere in my 30s, and I'm starting to understand who I am and what I need to do. It gets better, and that's where you start to leave your little nuggets and your breadcrumbs. And sometimes what we're told, again, I'm not a massive advocate of the internet, but I know most people on this panel are, so I will try not to share too much of my thoughts there. But I think it's almost understanding that you don't have to always comment on absolutely everything, but be an expert in what it is that you do. You don't have to you don't have to be the investigative journalist for everything. You just find the one thing that really makes your heart beat, and be the expert at that. And once you are the expert at that, when people ask you a question on that, you are able to answer that with the most passion and authority and influence. And that's all we really need. And some people will follow and some people won't. And I think it's understanding that legacy doesn't always look like the good girl. Sometimes legacy is the naughty girl in the room, which I often am. And you don't always have to swim with the tide. Sometimes swimming against it. Sometimes it's difficult, but sometimes swimming against the tide can help leave that legacy, because you are doing something different. You are looking at the 360 view instead of that one tunnel vision. That's
exactly. And in that what you just said, you just answered a question that was in the chat. What if it becomes overwhelming?
Yeah.
As you say, you're not going to get it. You're not going to fix all of it.
You won't fix the world's woes.
Against the tide, you will feel overwhelmed. You answered it. Spot on.
You will be fit. You will feel like that. But if you just pick the one thing that you are passionate about and be an expert at that. And sometimes people will want you to be embroiled in other conversations that you don't know things about. You don't have to answer. You don't have to be involved in those conversations. But what you do know and what you are passionate about, learn that inside out, and you will be able to, that will help to build your confidence, and that will leave your legacy. You don't have to be the everyone knows everything person. that the internet tells you to be. Just have that one thing. So I think we have about 10 minutes left, and I just have, so there's just one more question for the panelists, and it's about, I want you all to share a moment of empowerment with us. And I know we have a poem that Sarah left, so I think that might be a great one. But can you share a moment of empowerment that you've had in the last week since International Women's Day? So should we start with Dr. Liz? And we'll leave the poem to last, Tasia, if that's okay. So Dr. Liz, can you share a moment?
Sure. It was when a past student reached out to me to remind me of an amazing event, which is very close to my heart. So I was fortunate enough when I was doing my PhD to be awarded an international award in recognition of my research. And what was fantastic is that one of my past students has just got the same award. And to me, it's this full circle moment. And it is actually more meaningful seeing the next generation get that than actually myself. I was excited when I got it, but actually seeing that impact, and now she's leading her own team and all the work that they're doing. And of course, it was all set in motion by my amazing mentors. So just seeing that impact, and even though you might not realize at the time what it's doing, that ripple effect that just builds and gathers momentum over time, I think is so, so powerful. So for me, it's about supporting other amazing women to achieve their goals, and just watch them change the world is really exciting.
That's wonderful. And what we're doing today.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And Bernie, please.
Yes, my most empowering moment over the last week or so has got to be the two things. One, I got a voice message from someone who attended one of my networking events, because those of you who don't know, I also run franchise for Super Network. And she said they went into breakout rooms, and she said, Bernie, I just got to tell you what people are saying about you and your husband in the breakout rooms. And they were talking about our heart, about the nurture that we give to the community, how they weren't talking about how much money we have, how many, that we're running this, how many awards I've won or anything. She spoke about us and what we give. I was in tears. And if that was not worse, I was already having one of those very challenging weeks. As you know, I had some hacking of my system, money taken from my account. And I also was fighting the flu and all sorts of things. And on Friday morning, listen, guys, sometimes you must just keep going. The one who says you feel overwhelmed, sometimes you just got to keep going, because that morning I was sat doing the Zoom coaching, but I had my camera off because I did not have the energy to put my face on. And I was still proud enough not to show my face, not being ready. And I was coaching, but I showed up. And I remember saying to my coachee, listen, this morning I'm just showing up. I'm walking my talk this morning. And while I'm there coaching her, my husband came to the door, and I looked around, and I don't know if you can see those flowers in the background. That bouquet of flowers, a bottle of Prosecco, and that thank you card came from the 7 participants I'm coaching within the Welsh government. The program has not even ended. It's midway. And something made them think Bernie needed, I don't know what it was, because I don't know, I wasn't showing anything. And they just wanted me to thank me. That is the most empowering thing I've had in the longest while. And so, guys, I just say this to you, legacy can just be that. And if you think of somebody and you think, oh, how fantastic they are, why not send them an email and tell them? Why not reach out? They might just need to be reminded about how wonderful they are. We all need it. We are all human. So that's all I want to say. That was the most empowering thing that happened to me over the last week, and maybe for a long time.
Thank you so much. And we all were with you whilst all of that stuff was happening. So.
Yes, Ed was with me as well on the phone all the time. Ed, I don't think he slept.
Thank you so much, Benny. And Tasia, do you want to leave us today with the beautiful poem that was written by Sarah?
Sure. I would love to share that, because she wrote such a beautiful, empowering poem, and her words are magnificent, and it's all about the power of your feminine. You are a woman of the world. You can create your destiny unfurled. Lean into your femininity. Make it a reality. Lean into your compassion, for your compassion is the creator. Compassion is the relator, and compassion is a positive motivator. Beware fear if you can, for fear can spin you into never, never land. Fear is sometimes the traitor. Fear can be the soul liquidator. Fear doesn't have to be your mind's dictator. Fear can be your own worst hater. Fear is sometimes the ultimate dueler, but you have the power to choose your own ruler. Give yourself some space and give yourself some amazing grace. Grace is the soul's generator. Compassion is the heart's incubator. Unconditional love is your soul's defibrillator. Your inner wisdom is your greatest translator. Seeking to understand, access your innovator. Unconditional kindness can be a potent motivator. Beautiful ones, when you are drowning in seas so rough, it's okay to ask for a hand to bring you up. For perfection is an elusive thing. Doing your best is all you need to bring. Self-love is your mind's positive narrator. You are your life's illustrator. Women of the world, your destiny can be polished and pearled. Still, the greatest power you have met is your divine feminine, a strength no one can forget. For you are a woman of the world and a child of God. Sarah. And that was written in February.
That was so beautiful. And she's really missed tonight as well. We've missed her tonight. That it's great that she left the poem with you and left it with the voiceover artist as well. Absolutely.
Well, I definitely felt like the words inspired me, and so I wanted to say them and give them the weight that they deserve, because I think that she really touched on so many of what we've discussed today. About the fear and our voices and kindness and believing in ourselves and not having to be perfect, but to go on and reaching out to each other. So Thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you so much. And it's just all about leaving a legacy of love, because that's what everybody remembers. Whatever you do, skills change over time, but love is the biggest legacy. So thank you so much. I want to thank everybody who joined tonight or today. I'm saying tonight because I'm in the UK and it's 9 p.m. But if it's been your morning, afternoon, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It's been fantastic. I hope you've learned something from each of the panelists. It's been really insightful for me as well. So I want to say thank you to Bernie, Dr. Liz and Tasia. You were fantastic and you all shared something that I will take away and really sit with and chew on. It's been great. Is there anything that any of you, the panelists, would like to share before we wrap up?
For me, there's just one final thing, which we've all touched on, but I'd just like to highlight again, is that share our challenges as well. So often I had, my mentors on a pedestal, and it wasn't until I got closer to them that I'd realised their life wasn't perfect. They still had their challenges with the kids and trying to do everything. And in fact, those challenges only get greater the more senior you become. So I think the more that we can share those, not always just put on our, brave face, and like Bernie just shared so beautifully, and as did Tasia with, focusing more on her amazing mothering skills at the moment. Be honest about it. And I think the more senior people can be honest about it, so that these younger ones coming through don't think that, they've got to be perfect to reach to where they need to be. And it's so funny. I think one of the best things, and I hope we can all do it one day over a glass of wine, is to talk about some of those, just ridiculous moments that we had to get through, where sometimes you just got to put up your big girl pants and just soldier on.
Oh, I love that. Big lady pants. So yes, if there's anyone who would like to connect with anyone who has shared their LinkedIn details, please do that now before we finish and wrap up. But thank you again so much. It's been a great hour with you all. So we'll leave you about 5 minutes if you need to scroll through the chats just to connect with everyone who's shared their details.
Dannique, I want to say thank you to you. You graciously hosted with such beauty and given great voice with your kindness. Can we all give some applause to Dannique?
Yes.
Because you, again,
well said, Tasia.
Yeah, beautiful.
Such a beautiful job and kept us all on track and just brought your own beautiful insights in such a graceful manner. And I just wanted to thank you. And I will say that gratitude has been such an elixir. Every time I'm down, if I shift my voice and my mind to gratitude, it helps me, even if it's just for my breath, even if it's just for like the beautiful people that I know. And I have such gratitude for this all the people that joined us, all the lovely women and a couple of the gents and Edward that came today, because everyone's busy, everyone has things to do. So I want to express gratitude for you and Dr. Liz and Bernie, who I adore, and Edward and all the panelists and the guests, because we are all better together.
Yes, awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
So that's the end of that. I really hope you enjoy. It's Mother's Day tomorrow for
happy
UK,
Mother's Day.
So we will be celebrating Mother's Day. So thank you very, very much. We'll see you again soon, hopefully.